So marks shelf includes color, size, text, detail, and tooltip. This will look like this. In the Tableau, you will find marks shelf in the left side of our sheet tab, and you will also have an option to change different colors. If you see the color palette over here in the marks option, you have different colors, and if you click on more colors, you will be seeing a different kind of palette entirely, and you can select a particular color from that entire palette. You can also change the transparency and the borders around your colors. And in the mark shelf, you will see a tooltip option. Tooltip is whenever you hover on your data on your visualization, you will see a box coming up on your hovering part, and this is called tooltip. Tooltip has all the data whatever you have it in the visualization. In this box you can actually edit your tooltip to whatever text you want to show whenever the user's hovering over to the bar or the line graph. You can switch off this tooltip by simply clicking on this checkbox. You can uncheck this checkbox and your tooltip will be gone from your view. You will also have a command button when you hover onto your data, or when you click onto your data, you will get a command button like this. It will has keep only and exclude, a group option, and a view data option over here. And keep only and exclude will also work like a filters. If you just click on some bar or some data, and if you say keep only, the whole visualization will be filtered out on to whatever you clicked on here. So our next topic is pages shelf. Pages shelf are most commonly used for all the motion charts. Motion charts in the sense you can actually create it for a time series graph. For example, date columns can be used to create that effect flowing on from one year to the other year. This will cycle through the dates and reveal the line over there instantly. Options are there to actually edit your motion charts, like you can highlight the point whatever you want to focus on that particular point in the timeline. You can also use fading and specific highlighting over there. So let's see these two topics over onto the tool. We will discuss about the marks and pages shelf into our tool. So continuation of what we have left in the quick visualizations part. So this is the marks card we are talking about, and it has 5 different options for view. Based upon adding on the different properties into your marks card, you can add context and details to the marks into the view. You can add different dimensions and measures into your marks card. Let's say adding the segment onto your color, region onto the shape, and quantity onto the size. You will just see a tree map. This is called a tree map because we just added the segment and quantity, and this automatically created into a tree map because whatever the requirement, whatever the columns and fields we have added into the view are actually gone fit for this particular view. After adding the dimensions or measures onto the marks card, you can actually change the type of the mark you created into all the different others which are available. You can change it into the label or size or detail or tooltip. You can also change this by adding this over here or dragging them over here into your marks card. We already talked about the quick visualizations on how to create different graphs by just simply clicking on different graph type over here. But if you just want to create a particular graph from the marks card, you can actually change this kind of drop down to any particular view so that this view will be changed to that particular point available. But this bar graph needs a dimension or measure onto the column or row. That's why it's coming up like this. So if you see here, We added segment into the columns and quantity into the rows. We already saw how a bar graph will look like, but if you see a clear difference, the size is actually varying according to the quantity because we dragged quantity onto the size over here, and segment is onto the color. That's why these three bars are coming in different colors. But if you see a normal bar graph, these bars are equally sized, but we actually dragged quantity onto the size. That's why these bar graphs are actually coming up based upon the value coming in quantity. So talking about the options we have in the marks card over here, we have automatic and the starting. Automatic is kind of whenever you put a dimension and measure onto the view, Tableau will automatically recognize some particular visualization to that field or dimension or measure. In this case, I just clicked on category and discount. Tableau defaultly took it as an automatic, and this marks card, which has a drop down, is set to the automatic. So Tableau automatically selects the best mark type for your data view. This is selected determining on the inner fields on your rows and columns. The icon in the marks card drop-down menu indicates which type of graph is actually selected and what is the best graph available for this scenario, and it will automatically select it. In the drop down, next one we have is a bar chart, and we have different options coming up in this drop down, and we will talk much about some of the graphs. We will see what a text graph is. The text mark type is automatically selected when there are dimensions as inner fields on both rows and columns. If you see, okay, I'll just remove these and I will only select dimensions into my rows and also onto my columns. Let's say I've just selected both dimensions onto the columns and rows, so Tableau will recognize that this only has text and the marks column will be selected to a text. On the vice versa, if you have only measures onto your rows and columns, let's see what happens. I'm just selecting profit and sales onto my rows and columns. Let's say it actually selected text because we inserted text in the previous graph. So let's take a new sheet and see what happens when you only select measures for your particular graph and you have a measure on the row and measure on the column. Tableau will automatically recognize that this is only numbers coming up, and it will allocate the automatic graph as shape. In this case, the one on the x-axis and y-axis is the measure. You have two axes, and the axis in that will be aggregated to a sum and pointed out over here. The sales is 22 lakhs and the profit is 2 lakhs, so there is a point coming up. So this x and y matches somewhere up on the grid, and this point will come up. In this case, if it is selected as automatic and if it is a shape, there is one more icon coming up on your marks card to select what kind of shape you want to see on the view. You can select the filled shapes, like a filled square or a filled circle, and you can actually toggle around between more shapes. You will have more shapes in the a drop down option. If you click on here more shapes, you can select any of the shapes to in for your view. So for the next mark, we will be discussing a bit more on the bar graph. The bar mark is useful whenever you want to compare measures across categories or when you want to break down data into stacked bars. Tableau will display data using bars. We have already seen how a bar graph will look like across a category and sum of sales. But what if you want to look at two different dimensions on the same measure? Let's see how it looks like. I'm just dragging a category and sales onto a view as default. By default, Tableau will automatically recognize as a part of table and gives it like this. But I just want to create it on the bar graph. I'm swapping it to the vertical, displaying the labels, and it will look like this. And I want to show the subcategory also in this. So what I'll do is I'll drag subcategory onto the color. Tableau will recognize the aggregation differently. It will display category over here and subcategory over here. Just switch on the labels for 1 second. You can see the colors displayed for each subcategory, and the subcategory colors are assigned by default in Tableau. You can actually change it from here by clicking on edit colors, and whatever palette you want, you can select it from the drop down. As we have so many values coming up in the subcategory, we are getting so many boxes over here. This is basically called as a stacked bar chart. To make it simpler and easily understandable, let's say we drag value, a column which has minimum value in that. Let's say we are dragging segment under category. For category, we have a furniture, office, and technology. In furniture, we have home office, corporate, and consumer. So the consumer is taken into a blue, and corporate is taken into an orange, and home office as a red. And we have only 3 values coming up in segment, so this entire bar is differentiated or aggregated according to the segment. If you see, you have furniture over here, so this entire sales data is first categorized into one bar. Let's say it's as a furniture, so the total furniture bar will be this. And later, if we drag segment into the color, let's say we are actually detailing the data into the other dimension. Because segment is also coming into the view, the Tableau aggregates the value according to the segment as well. So the furniture bar is completely, let's say a furniture bar is coming up to like 6 lakhs. So this 6 lakhs is differentiated according to the segment into 3 different boxes. So the home office is coming as 121, and the corporate is coming as 229, and the consumer is coming as 392. So this entire furniture bar is differentiated into 3, which is coming from the segment. We can also sort the data based upon what is the highest and what is the lowest. Let's say sorting the data from technology to the office, because technology is the highest, and later on we have furniture and office coming up in here. This is the same stacked bar chart you will be seeing in here. See this one? This is the stacked bar chart you will be seeing in the Viz as well, in the quick visualizations. So if you hover on the stacked bars, this is the actual look of same stacked bars. You can create it from here, or you can create it manually, dragging and dropping the columns, whatever you needed, onto rows and columns onto the mark segment as well. So this is all about a stacked bar chart. Now, what if I want to make the same chart into a line chart? I'll just pull down the drop down and click on line. See, the entire bar chart is actually converted into line, because we manually said that visualization has to be line over here, and the category is coming up here, and the segment is nowhere seen right now. See, because in the bar chart you can easily differentiate the colors, and you can show it in 3 different boxes. But if you see here, you can see segment in the boxes, and you can only see the segments whenever you hover onto them. So for 2 dimensions, this kind of chart is not actually preferable. Line charts are mostly preferable whenever you have a date in your data. Let's say I'm just taking only category, and I'm dragging my order date onto the view, even replacing the category. This is the year-wise sales, and because we have sales in the measure, and this is coming from 2014 to 2017. Let's say we want to display category as well into a view. So I'm dropping category onto my view. Category is dropped into the color, so even the aggregation changes, and each category is assigned as each line, and you can see each category on how it is trending from 2014 to 2017. I'm just making it bigger for a clear understanding and to see the lines properly. So you can see the category office supplies going from 2014 to 2017 in this line chart. So the line chart, we have a year over here. That's why we're only seeing years onto our axis over here. What if you make into a quarter? Let's say click on this icon, plus icon, then the next one will be quarters. See our view change to quarters because we also have years onto the columns. First, the data is actually separated into an year. In that year, what is my quarter related data? It will show it like this. I'll just remove the year. And let's say I wanted to see it more likely with the date. Now, see, the lines actually spread up according to the dates because we have too many values coming up in our order date because we selected date over here. So it will pick up from the 1st to 31st because we have from 1 to 31 in each month. It will show from 1 to 31st what is our data looking like. On 1st, how is our data looking like for all the years, and on 2nd, what is our data looking like this. You can actually see the trends based upon the density. In here, the density actually increased because we made it to the day of the order date. We can actually control the day, month, or the year, quarter date from here. If I'm selecting month, it will take all the months from each year and it will aggregate the data based upon the month. And if you put on the labels, you can easily see what value is there at that particular point of time. The other graph related to this line graph is the area mark type. This is useful when you have a view where the marks are stacked and they do not overlap. In this area chart, the space between each line and the next line is filled with a color like this. If you go to the drop down and if you select area, you will see the graph in this way. Area chart is like each color is filled in each area. This type of chart is not the best way to show specific values along the line, but it can clearly show the total values. So you can get an idea of how a dimension is contributing to all over this trend. So in this view, we have order date onto the columns and we selected it according to the month. And we have the sales in rows and we differentiated the data, the lines according to the category. And each category is given a different color. If you see here, according to the values, the area is filled up to that value for each category. The area is completely filled with a different color. This is the difference between a line chart and an area chart. In the line chart, you can actually point out on a particular line where the point is at that height or at this particular point of time. The area chart will show you how the data is trending according to one particular dimension. On the next graph, we will talk about the square mark. The square mark is useful when you want to clearly see an individual data point. When you select the square from Marks Cardone menu, Tableau will display all your data in the form of squares. Let's say we are selecting the same order date onto the column, and I'm just taking it according to the month because I want to see more squares on my view. I'm selecting segment and I'm selecting category. So it is now as a text format because these are all dimensions and we do not have any measure in our view. Let's say we have to drop some measure into our view because we want to see the squares based upon our measure. Let's say I'm dragging the sales into my color. See, all the boxes filled up with different colors and the color palette is seen here. You can easily edit the colors into different colors from this drop down menu you have. And you can also pick some steps. This is right now it has 5 different colors picked up on the values. The lowest from 2715 and the highest goes up to 67637 coming up over here. And this particular bandwidth is selected as dark blue and the lower value is actually selected for the light blue. If you see here, the values, if they are like more in between the bandwidth, if it is like coming up in this part, let's say this is in the middle part, it is showing it in a darker blue rather than a light blue coming up over here. In the same chart, if you want to display the labels showing what color is actually what, you can just select on the label part and click on the show on the labels, because our sales is a measure and it has some value inside of it. That value will be shown in each box, and you can also change this particular graph into a tree map. Let's say I'm just selecting profit into my color. See, the color map actually changed according to the profit, and I'm selecting sales into my size. I'm dragging segment into my label. Let's say we only need one dimension for a heat map. Let's see, this. See, we have got a different set of graph or different set of view in this. Let's say I want to also show this. We only have three values. Let's say we drag more values in. Let's just say we add subcategory. See, we got more boxes, and we want to we drag the size into our view, right? So this entire box is actually calculated according to the sales, because sales is into the size, and this entire width and height of that box is particularly calculated based upon the sales size. Let's say we also want to display sales, what are the sales for that particular box, and dragging the sales into the text columns, you can also see that particular number coming up in that box. And the lowest ones will go up to the entirely back down part, and the displaying of that box is not so good in this kind of map, and you just have to hover on the box to see what that value is. So this is all about the tree maps, converting one kind of graph into the other kind of graphs. We have other options available in this drop down. We have a circle mark, and for the circle mark, circle is always totally related to scatter plots, and scatter plots, we need two kind of measures into our view for the scatter plot. And so I already selected circle in this drop down, that's why it's actually showing up circle, and you can add more details into the view to see a scatter plot. Let's say pick up a column which has too many variables. So let's pick up the product name, because product name has too many values inside it, and this will create too many circles on a view. So let's say we just selected the product name into the detail mark card over here, and this one is aggregated. So sales and profits is actually aggregated based upon that product. See, if you just hover on each circle, you can actually see what kind of product it is and what is the sale, and also the profit related to it. And we can actually change this graph into a different graph by clicking on the shape mark. To actually get the shape mark, we have to have a different different column onto our shape mark. Let's see, the shape mark type is useful when you want to clearly see individual data points while also viewing categories associated with that point. So if you want to drag, let's say, ship mode into our shape. So the ship mode has four values. If you see here, the first class, same day, second class, and the standard class. And our scatter plot, like our shape graph, is actually differentiated into four different shapes according to the ship mode. As we have the product name into our view, this entire graph is actually aggregated based upon the product name and also the ship mode. Let's say the product name G305 is actually shipped in the mode of first class, and we got this much of profit, and we have this much of sales. And if you want to change the shape into a different shape, you can actually click on this and assign different shape to this particular ship mode. And also, if you just see this, you are not able to differentiate anything related to the ship mode, right? So if you want to differentiate according to the color, you can add same ship mode onto the color. See, all the data is actually allocated, all the ship modes are actually allocated into 4 different colors, and you can easily differentiate in this particular set of data what is a ship mode, and you can actually change colors to whatever your interest is on by clicking on this arrow and edit colors. You can assign a different color to each ship mode. In this way you can change your graph into a shape mark, and can change your the shape mode into different shapes and give them some color. This is about the shape card we have in the marks card over here, the shape drop down.